Okay, so I'm working for the Proximus analytics department. And what do? We track people on base of their SIM cards in their smartphones or classical GSMs. First of all, I will say that we are completely GDPR compliant. So also for privacy, everything is okay, more or less. No, it's not true. So in fact, we started with this in 2014. And at that moment, we got per day 365 million localization records in our database. Today, we get more than 2 billion localization records in our database. So in fact, each time when you make a call to somebody or somebody calls you, you send an SMS or you receive an SMS, you set up a data connection, then we are creating, in fact, a location record. In fact, setting up a data connection, your smartphone is all the time setting up data connections, so it's quite good for us. Otherwise, in Belgium, you still have a lot of classical GSMs compared to smartphones. Does anybody have an idea from you how many classical GSMs we still have in Belgium in percentage compared with smartphones? I say something crazy. You cannot be wrong. 30%? Somebody else an idea? 6%. No, it's around 30%. Yeah. So classical GSM, so 6% are good. No, 30%, but this is important to know because if we would only monitor data connections, we would lose about 30% of the market. And we think this is coming from elderly people. Like my mother, she's in the 80s, she don't want to have a smartphone, she has a phone with a big screen and big buttons on it. So I see a lot of old people who has this. Are there people from the city of Antwerp here? Yes? Maybe it could also be that the classical phones are used by Coke dealers in Antwerp, you know a lot of it, but okay. So something else is, okay, we have 2 billion records. So when we will have 5G, we will come probably to 8 billion. I was speaking with Gerdy, who's sitting there, who is doing, in fact, we started together in 2014, the analytics. But he thinks it will be multiplied by 4. So at that moment will be 8 billion records that we will have with localization records. So important to know is that we not only monitor, we monitor in fact only the Proximus customers. This means Proximus, but also Scarlett, another operator from Proximus, and Mobile Vikings. We also have them in our database. It's quite important for us because the Belgian people here, they know that Mobile Vikings is mostly used by young people because you get a lot of data for free. So my children also, they are using Mobile Vikings. They want to not use Proximus. It's for older people like me. So there, it's quite interesting to know this also. We are also extrapolating this to the Belgian market, to everybody in Belgium. And each day we are recalculating the market shares of Proximus. It's always in the same range. It's about 40 to 43% that we have as a market share as for Proximus. When we started with this service in 2014, we thought that we could do everything with our mobile data. Of course, after a few years, we know that we could do some things, but not everything. So today we are using the mobile data. We have a large market share for it, but we're using this for defining the origin and profile of people that we see. And this is typical for larger zones. Of course, we get a lot. If you ask to me, can you monitor somebody in a street or on the corner of a street? We cannot see them with our data. But for this, we are using GPS data from our friends from Accurat, which are here today also. And we are working together to do this. So for larger zones is a mobile data. For smaller zones, we are using GPS data. What we also do is we are using financial data. For example, we can monitor easily visitors in a city. We know their profile. We know if it's a day visitor. We know from where they are coming. We can see them on the larger zones. We can see them in the streets. But with the financial data, we can also see the spending behavior from people. So we see the spending behavior. For example, during Corona, on Leuven, we could clearly see when the lockdown started, the half of March, you see immediately all the people, less spendings and so on. With our mobile data, by the way, we're also combining social class of people. So we know social class, we know from where they are coming, we know their profile, we know the spending, we know a lot of things in fact. It's still GDPR compliant. We can also see weather data. Sometimes they ask to us to see the weather data where it is used, for example, for events. When you have an event in your city and you have a lot of people, and the year after you're organizing the same event and you have less people, it's interesting to see if it was good weather or not. This is why we are using also this. Event calendars is also coming more and more. We're doing a lot of cities now for the monitoring. And there you have a lot of events. For example, following the official figures from Visit Brussels in 2019, there were 20,000 events in Brussels. It's a lot, eh? So therefore, it's quite interesting for us also to know the events. I remember, maybe Gerdy also remembers, I think it was in 2015, we were monitoring the opening of the museum in Bastogne for the Second World War. And in fact, what we're doing is we're doing always zero measurements. We monitor the weekend before, the weekend after to see how many people came. And what we noticed is that the weekend before the opening of the museum, there were more people than the opening of the museum itself. So we had an issue. So we went to the people from Bastogne asking, yeah, was something happening? Yeah, we don't know it. So we started to look in our data, but the data was correct. So we found out, in fact, it was a football match. These kind of things are happening a lot of times. So it's normally in our contracts it's mentioned that we don't give an explanation why we see figures, but we try to find always a reason why we see something special. What we're also using is the radio data. This is with a company from Antwerp, it's CrowdScan. So in fact, with the GPS data, this is typical for what we call historical dashboards. What does it mean? That after the end of the month, we give to cities data, how many people came, from where they are coming, and so on. The radio data is typically for real time. So in fact, we have two flavors that we are offering to our customers. We are offering real-time dashboards and historical dashboards. These are some of the dashboards that we have today. We have in Belgium for the moment between 30 and 40 cities that are using our dashboards. We have, I think, around 100 dashboards that are operational. So you see here the dashboards with a black background, and the other ones are with a white background. These are the real-time dashboards. These are the historical dashboards. You also see there's a lot of cities in, you see Leuven, you see Mechelen, you see Ghent, you see Westour. We say something more about it. These are always bigger cities, but for the smaller cities or smaller communes, what we are doing, we are selling a dashboard, and then they have the possibility to open like the data gate when they need information. So they buy a dashboard and they can get it, and for example, they say we have an event during 2 weeks, then they can buy the data for these 2 weeks, and then we put it in their dashboard. So this allows us, because these bigger cities, they have bigger budgets, they can buy one-year contracts, multiple-year contracts. The smaller cities, they cannot do it, but this is for giving them also a solution. You see also the Schorre in Boom, Tomorrowland. One of the things that we do for our customers is also we learned this in the beginning when we were working with this data. We were delivering PowerPoint presentations to our customers. We were delivering data sets. And in the PowerPoint presentations, we gave them graphs that we think that were important. Of course, we made a lot of mistakes there. We learned a lot also. But it was typically for Proximus, but a lot of companies has this kind of behavior. We are giving to the customers what we think they want, but mostly of the time it's not correct. So what we have done is the following. We are now working more in a co-creation mode. And in 2020, we won a large contract for the Belgian coast. In fact, to monitor everybody who is going to the coast in Belgium. For the people coming abroad, the Belgian coast is only 60 kilometers. It's not like in Denmark, I can tell you this. But in each case, it was quite an interesting thing to do. So real-time monitoring. When we had the first meeting with our customers, Gerdy was also there. In fact, we didn't start to say to them, we can do this, we'll use that kind of data or data source and so on. We simply asked them, what do you want to see? Because it was a public dashboard that they want to give to the customers. where they can see if there is more people or less people. By the way, who's using the druktebarometer from the coast? Nobody? Ah, okay, there. Some people are using it. So how did we start this meeting with Westour? In fact, we asked, and this is the real, what you see here is a drawing that they made, and Gerdy will remember, we asked them, what do you want to see? And in fact, after the meeting, somebody made in the evening this drawing. I think it will be a big fight at that moment at home because the guy took the pencils from his children. But okay, so what you see here is in fact the Belgian coast, and they said, okay, we want to have colors indicating how many people there are. So they said, we want to have 4 colors. We want to have green when it is quiet, and red when it is when there are a lot of people. And they say, okay, well, we also want to have the possibility that you can click on one of the communes and then can see what's happening there. And of course, we want to have the logos from Westour, the logo from the coast, and so on. And then they didn't have the name at that moment, the druktebarometer, they invented the name. Later on, they came with the name druktebarometer. They also wanted to have something here, like an history, to say, okay, I want to see what was happening at 10 o'clock, at 12 o'clock, 14 o'clock, and so on, to see what was happening in the past. What did we make? We, the analyst and Gerdy made, is this. In fact, this you recognize your Camilio. So you have the Belgian coast with the color codes, and in fact, the color codes were changed a little bit because they didn't use anymore red because it was too aggressive. They said we will use orange and we will use 2 types of green, light green and dark green. What you also you see, you can click on each commune at the coast and then you will have zoom in on each commune what we are doing there. And then of course you can see the history and the logos. In fact, we made exactly what they were asking, and we see that this with each customer we have. The base blocks, the data sets are the same always, but what they want to see is different. It's more, sometimes it's quite similar to other cities, but all the time we see that they really want something different. And if you see to the dashboards from Leuven, Mechelen, they're all different if you have a look at it, but everything what is below is in fact the same. So we're putting all these blocks together to become something what they want to have. So in the meantime, we have 1.5 million views on for the dashboard. So there also, of course, this is the public dashboard. I think internal dashboards, we have 8 or 9 dashboards. It is in the meantime extended with data from the NMBS, from the railways. It was quite difficult to get this data, but now if you go to the druktebarometer, they will, you can see also when the trains are arriving at which station at the coast and so on, to see what the occupation is for the trains. You will see then the status, what's happening there and so on. We have done similar works like this real-time data for during COVID for Ghent, for example. I think we have done there, I think 12 months real-time monitoring in different zones in Ghent to see what was happening. So you see, coming from 2014 to now, it was a big, big step for us. And in fact, Gerdy came in 2019 with the dashboards from Camilio at that moment, and he came to me, and it was for the Ronde van Vlaanderen. He said, I have something in the dashboard, I want to show you something, but of course, I'm the sales guy, you already noticed. So he came to me with something with the dashboard, and I said, no, it's not sexy enough. Okay, come back to me. Oh, no, it's not sexy enough. And at the end, we came to something very sexy, but not useful. But okay, we came here on the newspapers, we came with it on television and so on. And since then, in fact, we are using dashboards for all customers. Even sometimes customers are asking, why can we get data sets? We always give them, even free of charge, the dashboards, because we know after some time they will begin to use it. Okay. That's all. So if you want to contact me, Luc.Cogneau at Proximus and my LinkedIn. My son told me I don't need to give cards anymore because it's old-fashioned. So I'm doing it like my son is telling me, LinkedIn. So do you have questions for me? Yes?
Yes, I was wondering, how do you acquire the financial data?
We are buying this data from MasterCard and from Worldline. So we started with the MasterCard. They were the first on the market to do this, and now we are working with Worldline. But we are following this evolution because we know there are also other companies coming on the market and doing things. But at this moment, the data from Wordline is the most interesting because they have bank contact and they have all the credit cards, of course. And then we can give the origin also from people for bank contact on province level. So you know we are also giving the origin of people. By the way, if you are interested, I can tell you how we know the origin from the people that we see. Are you interested to know this? You will not get an heart attack if I tell you. So in fact what we do, when we see somebody, we go back in the time and during 3 months, we looked at the people that we saw, where they were during 9 o'clock until 6 o'clock in the morning. And then during the night we are sending also hidden SMS to really be sure that they are coming from that place. And there we are giving in fact the information until commune level. So this is how we know from where people are coming. Yes?
You mentioned that a number of cities are a client, or is it only cities, or there are other companies interested?
No, there are also other companies interested, but historical, when we started with this, in fact in 2013 in December, I met Gerdy for the first time and they asked to us, can you see if you can sell our data? And in the first 2 months we got contracts with Westour, with Tourisme Vlaanderen, with Visit Brussels. And so historical, it came in this way. Because we didn't know, we went like this on the market and said, is anybody interested in this data? And they say, okay, yes, yeah, we're interested. I remember even in the first presentation when everybody was speaking about big data, you're saying we will do this and we do that, and we were saying, okay, we are doing already this. So it was really very pragmatic that we started with this, but I'm not an original Proximus guy. I'm coming from a company, Telindus, which was acquired by Proximus. So I have another approach on the market. Questions? No? Okay, there, sorry.
I should have said more in front, because in the end of the presentation you mentioned that Gerdy came back with this idea of,
Yes.
oh, this is super fun.
Yes, yes.
And you mentioned that it's not sexy enough.
Yeah.
Can you give an advice how to find this sweet spot between CTO and like functional stuff or product people and then sexy? Like how do you find this
But
balance?
the sexy thing was something stupid for me, I tell you immediately, what we do now. But I'm a sales guy, I always want to have something with colors and very, but when we, for example, with the Ronde van Vlaanderen, visualization was very soft, it were colors coming in between each other and so on, but it was not very useful. I think the dashboard that you saw for Westour was more useful. But what we are doing now for the customers, we really ask them like this, what do you want to see? Of course, you need to be careful. Westour, they have a lot of data people and so on, they know exactly what they want. Sometimes you have customers, they say everything is interesting for them, but not everything is relevant. So you need to guide them a little bit. But normally now, if you go to a customer, we say, okay, this is what we can do, what do you want? And we follow them, but we guide them, of course. But we don't push anything anymore to the customers to say you have to do this or that.
Yeah, on that, fair enough, if you don't know, but the last example you had from the
Yeah.
Belgian coastline there.
Yeah.
Do you know why they wanted that data at all? Was it because they don't
Yes. No, there was a reason. I like this question. Yeah. Yeah. The question was that if you still remember, we were in full COVID period. It started in March. And then we had also in Belgium a little bit later elections. And what was happening at the coast, I don't know if you remember, it was Bart Tommelijn who wanted to become the president of the Liberal Party. And he's the mayor of the Oostende. So when he was coming in the news, say, I want to have in Oostende, I want to put cameras on it. Okay, and then another one mayor said, I want to do that. And then we ourselves, we went to Westour, the touristic organization for the coast. And we went to them and we said, okay, we can do this with our data, with real-time data. But they said in the beginning, no, we will not do this, we will use cameras. And at the coast in Belgium, they have cameras. And then they were not so secured. And Gerdy went to see on the cameras what exactly they could see. But half of them were destroyed or you could not see anything. And then we really showed them, they said, your cameras that you have there, you cannot use it. Okay, and then they came out with 2 RFPs, one for the mobile. They said, okay, we will use what you propose. Because it seems that you can go very fast also to set this thing up. And this is one of the advantages of Comilio. The learning curve is very, very low. You can go very fast to setting up a dashboard. And in fact, we proposed this because they didn't know what to do. It was a big mess. These mayors were saying things, political things and so on, and we came there to Westo and they said, okay, we will try it, and then they said, okay, and so they came to this. We pushed it, in fact. No, we didn't push it, we were there and giving them advice and solutions. There are also other data sources for the coast. For example, we also give the status of the water. I don't know how you say it in English, if it's hoogtij or vlaagtij, all this information. Yeah. We have also templates for COVID and non-COVID, for the vacation and non-vacation, because, for example, during the day, if we monitor a zone for Westour, most people will be, when it's good weather, most people will be at the beach. But if you go at 12 o'clock at night, if you see still a lot of people, they are not on the beach, so we are changing a little bit templates and so on. But it's a lot of work, a lot of dashboards they have. It's our most complicated project I think we have. Gerdy? He's saying yes. More questions?
Yeah, briefly on the Ronde van Vlaanderen. I know you're not a cycling fan or expert, but can you maybe share for the audience briefly what the intervention was about and the project about 2 years ago?
For the Ronde van Vlaanderen, at that moment we were speaking with the city where komt de Ronde van Vlaanderen weer toe? Oudenaarde. We were speaking with Oudenaarde. First they asked us to do profiling on the visitors and so on. But then at a certain moment, I don't know why, we were speaking about this real-time data. And in fact, when Gerdy was coming up with his dashboards, the sexy dashboard, we showed them. And he was saying, oh, wow, it's fantastic. And so I said, okay. And then we started on this way. But in fact, it was Oudenaarde who bought this, and we want to do the same in Antwerp, because it was starting in Antwerp. But we hadn't had the contact with the city of Antwerp and so on. We had contact with Koen Kennis and so on, but they were using another operator. And what we have done then at that moment, we said, okay, we don't look only to Oudenaarde, we will put the complete Ronde van Vlaanderen in a real-time map with everything and so on. And this is what we have done. And then it was picked up by the VRT, because it's television, it's media also. They also want to tell each time something new. It was something new at that moment. So, and then afterwards we got, we have in Belgium one privacy activist, you know it? Yeah, the guy always coming on television, all the same guy, because we have only one. So, and then at that moment he started also with this kind of things, and so we also had several audits on our data. Yeah, they will remember for Kortrijk and so on when it was in the news. But each time we were fully GDPR compliant. fully. Yes?
Can I borrow Gerdy?
No. Yes, you can borrow him. I will give you a good price for him. Yes?
Perhaps another question more on the business side.
Yeah.
How important is Proximus Analytics for Proximus as a business unit and strategic?
It's a very difficult question, but Proximus is for Belgium norms a big company. So for the moment they have a lot of investments in fiber optic, in 5G. And this is something they want to do, because maybe you know the CEO from Proximus announced in the newspapers some months ago or even a year ago that he wants to become the Google for Belgium. So I wish him good luck. But so their data is for them important. And of course we are in this kind of business for the cities, we are market leaders. So it's obvious. So, and of course, when Proximus is coming in the news with this kind of thing, they like it, because it's something different than what they normally do. So normally Proximus is the only thing that we do in telephones. Still, but with this kind of things we are coming on another way but it's important. We don't have enough people, but it's already difficult to find people. As far as I know, it's important. If there are no more questions, I will be still here. If you have questions, you come to me and you can ask them. So thank you very much. I see everybody is still awake. It's a good sign.